In the spring of 2020, large gatherings and public events are being canceled, including solemn graduations. This video is intended for graduates and their households to take a few solemn moments to honor the achievement and to encourage them for what is next. Many schools will have an online event, some may not, or some may have an online graduation, but without the speeches. The key element that this video clip provides, which may be missing from many online ceremonies this year, is the keynote address from a guest speaker. My name is Amy Wilson, and I will be the marshal for this ceremony. I am certified as a secondary math teacher with 20 years experience in private, charter, and public schools. The keynote address will be given by published history scholar, the Reverend Dr. Jonathan M. Wilson. As your marshal, I have these comments and suggestions for you to make the most of this moment. For many of you, your graduation parties with friends and extended family have been postponed. Some of you might decide that the time for this video will be when you can have your party. We are making this available at the beginning of May so that you and those in your household with you can have the experience of a solemn moment at the time that it was scheduled. Perhaps you have access to a gown or robe and a graduation cap. If not, I suggest that you wear either your school's spirit wear or that you dress up in formal attire. Although you can pause this video at any time for interruptions, in order to model the decorum of the graduation ceremony, I suggest that you turn off your cell phones and devices. From beginning to end, this video is about 25 minutes in length. If you belong to a parochial or private school where prayers are made and hymns are sung, or if your school includes in its ceremonies an expression of sovereign allegiance or the singing of the national anthem, the time to perform those parts of the ceremony is immediately following the processional music. You will be invited to stand for the processional, and when that music is done, you should pause the video and remain standing for those functions. It is traditional for women to keep their hats in place during prayers and national anthems, and for men to remove them. Once seated, men may wear their hats again. At the end of the keynote address, you will be applauded and cheered, and the ceremony will draw to a close. Thank you for the honor that you have given us to share in this moment with you. Please stand for the processional Pomp and Circumstance. You may be seated. Dr. Jonathan M. Wilson is an ordained pastor and a published author. He received his PhD with distinction from the Lutheran School of Theology in Chicago in 2015. His research focus was on the impact of religion in public life in early America. This is the focus of his peer-reviewed book, God on Three Sides, which became available to the public in October 2019. He lives with his spouse, Amy, and their 2 children in West Central Minnesota, where he serves Salem Covenant Church. He hopes his 2 daughters will read his book someday.
Thank you, Marshall. Thank you, parents. Thank you, graduates. Thank you, teachers and school administrators and staff for making these moments possible, the conclusion of this education journey. And I want to thank you all for giving me these few minutes to speak into this moment. I dedicate this address to the young adults who are part of my congregation and who graduate in this spring of 2020. This address is for all those who have had high school or college commencement exercises canceled this spring. The first thing that I want you to know is that your graduation is a big deal. You have completed an important stage in your process of growing as a human being. Congratulations, well done. Some of you are looking forward to the next set of classrooms and the next school campus and the next threshold of intensity in the academic experience. Some of you are relieved that you have made it through these courses and you hope never to open another textbook in your life. Regardless of how you did in the classroom itself, some of you found your greatest joy in the gym or on the field or the track. Some of you will look back to your times in the rehearsals and on stage or on parade. And for still others, your best memories will be your achievements and friendships in the clubs and associations that were focused on civic, cultural, and career interests. Some of you were involved in many things, some of you in fewer things. Some of you really thrived in the school environment, others less so. All of you share one experience in common. At some point early in this spring, you stopped coming to the school campus with its classrooms, stages, ball courts, shops, studios, its library, its cafeteria, its vending machines, and its friends. Whether you loved school or not so much, the pandemic of the novel COVID-19 virus took that part of life away. Across the nation, it has also deprived you, this year's graduates, of your walk across the stage, of the handshakes and the hugs and the photos and the gown and the hat, and all that we call the pomp and circumstance, the music you heard at the beginning of this clip. What I want to do with my time with you is share what I firmly believe to be true about these days and about you. To set it up first, you can see by looking at me that I have lived some history. I was a teenager when the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded after takeoff. I was in college when the US-led coalition liberated the nation of Kuwait. I was married and living in Chicago and ready to leave my home for my office when I got the call to turn on the TV on Tuesday, September 11th, 2001. In 2008, the USA elected a person of color as president for the first time. In 2010, the terrorist mastermind Osama bin Laden was killed by Navy SEALs at his hideout in Pakistan. And now we are getting into the realm of the recent past, of shared memory with you, of shared history with you. As far as our civilization goes, this pandemic is the test of my lifetime and of yours. Yes, I lived through the attack on America and the war on terror. And at the time, presidents and pundits were comparing my generation to the greatest generation. Maybe you have not heard of the greatest generation. A journalist named Tom Brokaw did a news series and then published a book by that name, which focused on those who came of age during the Depression of the 1930s and went on to fight and win World War II in the 1940s. Those events are already a lifetime ago. The surviving members of that generation, in many cases your great-grandparents, are in their upper 90s. Of course, what the politicians of the war on terror meant is that by comparison, the men and women on the front lines and in the green zones of the Middle East and Afghanistan showed all the courage of those who fought the battles of World War II. And that is certainly true. But here is a crucial difference. As a nation, we fought the war on terror without retooling our economy, without going to a general draft. There was no unified home front effort. What made the greatest generation great was that the joint effort of World War II touched them all and required the involvement of them all. Everyone felt the impact of the rationing of gasoline, metals, sugar. Everyone felt the impact of tens of millions of men called away to duty. This pandemic is the test of our lifetime, my lifetime and yours. For this is the test of our resolve as a society and as a nation. Shall we be united to a common purpose, such as our nation has not seen or known since the 1940s, including the economic hardships that come with shared sacrifice? When nations and civilizations are tested, not everyone feels the test in the same way. I am of the generation of the policymakers, owners and employers, the people in charge. We feel the pinch. We feel the stress of our burdens. But during times of trial like these, the great tests of civilization, the greatest sacrifices, are always asked of the young adults. In this test of our lifetime, that means you. Now you can put yourselves in the shoes of your great-grandparents 80 years ago. Like you, they were the young adults in the early 1940s. They had goals to finish school, find work, get married, start a family, and get on with life as grown-ups. Those plans were interrupted. New marriages were put under the strain of overseas deployment. The economy was completely retooled. Rationing meant doing without many good and enjoyable things in life. In fact, a vast sector of the population had grown up expecting the home to be their primary sphere of contribution, and their classes in school were geared to that focus. Then they found themselves on assembly lines under Rosie the Riveter posters. This was a picture of a woman in blue coveralls flexing her biceps. The world changed, and the greatest generation changed with it, and then they changed the world. They passed the test of their lifetime and went on with their adult lives, and what a legacy. As voting and working adults, they inaugurated the space age, built the interstate highways, made civil rights into law, expanded the roles of women in business and government, and won the Cold War's 40-year stare-down with the Soviet Union. Those generations that followed, the boomers and Xers and millennials, we made our contributions too. But speaking as an historian, I admit that we do not compare. Take, for example, the movies that define a generation. The movie that defines the greatest generation is It's a Wonderful Life. The movie that defines Generation X is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. If your parents are watching with you, they might be snickering or groaning right now, but they know what I mean. Graduates, your movie has not been made yet, and I doubt that your defining movie will belong to the Marvel Comics franchise. Until your movie is made, watch It's a Wonderful Life. Learn how George Bailey's dreams were frustrated until he came to realize what life is about. The critical tests that face a civilization don't come around very often. You, the young adults today, have been forced to learn some lessons that we, your parents and teachers and mentors in Generation X, were hoping would come to you later. You have now learned that life is not fair, that your dreams and aspirations depend on many factors that you cannot control, and that we, the leaders and policymakers and employers, cannot control either. The things that you have been required to sacrifice, whole seasons of competition and performance, these things that you live for when your bodies are young and capable, these things are being sacrificed in order that our civilization can win a war. This war is not against an enemy that we can blow up or shoot. A virus is not even a living thing, technically, but we are not powerless against it. Our power comes from our joint purpose and our resolve to do what it takes. And that means doing without some things that we love and that we long for. These are the very lessons that shaped the greatest generation. These things that have been required of you in the battle to mitigate COVID-19 are not easy and they are not fair. These are hard things and the grief is real. Hopefully, the season of your sacrifice will be brief, a matter of months, not years. And on the other side of the closings, cancellations, and disappointments, there will be life to return to, opportunities to meet, and society to shape with the stamps of your leadership and your creativity and your convictions. When you do rise to meet these challenges, you will have been seasoned with a maturity that your parents did not know when we graduated and started our adult lives. Meeting the challenges and the opportunities that come your way, you will do what you can. You will work hard. You will dream and plan and pray, all with a point of view that stretches wider and deeper than yourself. That is the hopeful lesson that has come with social distancing, even if it is ironic in its way. You have been taught that your life has impact on the lives of others, and others' lives have impact on yours. In your dreams and aspirations and expectations, you will account for those impacts in ways that will astonish and gladden your parents, who took a lot longer than you to figure that out. It is because I am a historian that I have high hopes for your future. You may be the greatest generation of the 21st century. If that is so, it is not just the future where you will come into your own. As young adults, you are bearing the greatest burdens of these sacrifices, and for you, The time is now. As the nation shudders through these hardships, we need you to lead the way by your example and by your attitude. You can remind us that each one of us is part of something bigger. Thank you for listening, and good luck, class of 2020. I'd like to invite the marshal back up as we congratulate you with applause and cheers. I want you to count with me 3, 2, 1, then we'll shout 2020, 2020, 2020. Can you do that? 3, 2, 1. 2020, 2020, 2020,